Thank you for tuning in to today's episode of the JD Rucker Show. If you are watching the evening show, which starts at 9 p.m. Pacific, midnight Eastern, then awesome. If you're watching the daytime show, which starts at various times depending on what's happening in the news, then that's awesome as well. But either way, you should find me wherever you want to find me, whatever platforms you use, Rumble, X, YouTube, BitChute, all the various networks, all the various areas where the show's broadcast. You can find all those, plus my websites, plus my socials, and even my sponsors. You can go to jdrucker.com/find, jdrucker.com/find. God bless you, and God bless the United States of America. You're listening to the JD Rucker Show. Let's begin. Hello, my friends, and welcome to another episode of the JD Rucker Show. I am your host, JD Rucker, and I am super excited to have a short show tonight. I know you might be thinking to yourself, why would you be excited about a short show? Well, it's because of the reason for the show being so short. We are in the process of trying to add a daytime show, and as a result, I can't. So I've been doing basically anywhere from an hour and 20 minutes to 2 hours a day for the late night show, which is 9 p.m. Pacific, midnight Eastern. And it's been suggested to me that I should start doing 2 1-hour shows instead, with one of them being during the day. A lot of the audience says, hey, you know what? You're just on too late. We'd love to watch you, but you're on too late. And so we always catch the reruns the next morning on demand. But hey, while it would be nice if we just had our own show for the daytime people instead of just all of us night owls. So we're going to give it a shot. I can't guarantee it. The only thing I can guarantee is tonight's show. I am on now, and you never know what's going to happen between now and tomorrow. You never know what's going to happen next week, next month, next year, which is why I'm a huge fan of not saying that, you know what, I'm going to take care of that next month. I'm going to get going on that as soon as I've got this, or as soon as I've got that, or as soon as my situation changes, especially when it comes to your salvation. Obviously, we as humans, we can be taken from this world at any moment. And if there's one thing, and just one thing, and it really is the only thing that you never, ever, ever, ever want to be caught without, it is your salvation, which is why I strongly recommend. I'm begging you, if you are not a believer in Jesus Christ as your Lord and Savior, then now is the time to do it. Don't wait to say, I'll start researching the Bible next week. Don't say, hey, maybe I'll go talk to a pastor next month. It really should be a matter of, hey, you know what? I'm going to do it right now. As a matter of fact, I'm going to turn off Rucker's show, and I'm going to go learn. You can even always ask me if you'd like. Ask me questions. I'm not a Bible scholar. I'm definitely not a pastor, but you can definitely ask me any questions you want, and I'll try my best to answer them, or at least to point you in the right direction. You can do that by going to jdrucker.com/talk, jdrucker.com/talk, or you can hit me up on X. I have open DMs, so if you go to x.com/jdrucker, you will be able to direct message me, even if we're not following each other. So don't wait. And even the Bible itself says that. You live for the day. You live now. Don't worry about the past. Don't worry about tomorrow. You should learn from the past, and you should be hopeful and prayerful about tomorrow. But as far as your focus, laser focus on the now, because that's all we know for sure we have. We don't know what tomorrow will bring. I know that sounds like it's probably a country music song, and it probably is. There's got to be a country music song about it, but I am not a country music singer, in case you didn't know. We have, because it's a short show today, we do have only 3 stories, but they're big stories. Two of them are big. One of them is funny. The CEO of NPR thought it'd be a good idea to go to Congress and lie to the people. It wasn't a good idea. Spoiler alert, wasn't a good idea. President Trump did announce his automotive tariffs today. Praise God for that. I'm very excited about it. I know that sounds weird to be excited about tariffs, but yes, the push for America first. It's more than just revenue from the tariffs or bringing industry back to the United States. This really is about how do we prepare for the end of the unipolar world, because we are there. We are right there on the cusp. It might have already happened. As much as I'd love to say, the United States of America will be on top of the world forever, that's just not the case. President Trump knows this. Most of us know this. Most of you know this. Yeah, the world is changing, and at least I'm not talking militarily, but from an economic perspective, we do need to become much more America first. We have gone way too far out and about across the globe when it comes to the economy, and as a result, we're on the verge of. We would have been on the verge of destruction, I believe, had Kamala Harris won. So we were already there with Joe Biden, but praise God, neither of them are president, nor will they ever be. We have President Trump, and I do believe that his mentality about America first goes beyond just tariffs or lowering taxes or adding efficiency, cutting waste. I think this really is about making the United States of America self-reliant. Just as I always tell people, I tell people like you, I say, the best thing you could do outside of course, praying and reading your Bible, the best thing you can do is to prepare yourself and your family. Not for doomsday, though that would make sense. Prepare by becoming as self-reliant as possible. Now you might say, but Rucker, just now you're saying, don't plan for tomorrow. Plan for focus on the day. No, I didn't say don't plan for tomorrow. I said don't focus on tomorrow. You can still make plans. You can still be ready, be prepared. It'd be stupid not to. The point is that you don't want to push things off and have a long-term plan that is geared around, hey, I'll just take care of that, next month. If it's important enough to do, then it's important enough to do now, or at the very least, later on in the day or tomorrow or anything like that. I don't like people making those plans that, okay, so I'll start reading my Bible next June. That's not a good idea. Or I'll start preparing, looking into preparing food and getting ready with ammunition and everything. I'll do that next month. No, you should probably do it now if you have the means. And if you don't have the means, then focus now on getting the means. It's not that hard. Being self-reliant means not being beholden to government or anyone else when the time comes. And I do believe, unfortunately, that the time is coming. That the time when we're going to have to make a choice. Are we going to act as sovereign people? Are we going to act as individuals against the collective? Or are we going to be stuck in the bread lines, stuck in the cricket lines, waiting for FEMA or whoever to hand us our daily rations? I don't want to be that person. And I don't want any of you to be those people. That's why I say, get ready now. Don't wait. Don't wait around. Make it happen. What else happened? Speaking of happening, let me pull up my handy dandy cheat sheet. What else? We had the tariffs, right? We got that. Got the CEO. I know that I've got another story here somewhere. What in the world was it? And why don't I know it off the top of my head? It's the age. I'm getting older. That's what it is. I'm going to blame it. All right, the Cheneys. I knew it. That's why I forgot, because it's the Cheneys. And they are so very forgettable. Dick and Liz, they, of course, did their thing, and multiple things they've done against the country, against President Trump, against the American people. Well, Greg Kelly over at Newsmax asked President Trump about them. And I think that President Trump was a little bit too nice. I really think he should have gone after them hard. You don't hear that often. You don't hear like, wow, usually it's, President Trump, he hits so hard. It's asymmetric warfare. I've heard that term used with his often verbal attacks against people that are his enemies. In this case, I think he pulled back. I think he pulled back punches. He could have hit them a lot harder than he did, but it was very interesting and fun to watch. Be sure to subscribe. If you're not subscribed, please do. Be sure to push that like button, the thumbs up button. I know I sound like I'm whining about it, but it just bugs me. Why don't I have, like, between all the various networks that I'm on, I should have at least 10,000 likes on every show. And I get like 30 when you combine them. It's like, man. And that's, by the way, just to be clear, that's the biggest reason. It's not just because, I like doing more work, so let's do 2 shows a day. No, it really is about trying to expand the audience and make it to where we are reaching people that we're currently not reaching, because that is the intention. The goal of this show, outside of course of supporting my family, the goal of this show is truly to save America and Americans, whether it's pointing them in the direction of the gospel or pointing them in the direction of strategies that would bring about a more conservative and lucid America, or trying to pull us more towards an America First way of thinking rather than a neocon way of thinking. There's all sorts of enemies out there, from the globalist elite cabal and the deep state to the uniparty swamp, the media, the education system. They all hate you. They hate me. They hate everything that we stand for, just like Hollywood. And yet here we are. We have to persevere, which is why I do intend to, again, start a new show, the same show, but add a show, split it up. Instead of doing hour and a half or 2 hours for one show, we'll just do an hour for 2 separate shows and see how that goes. And who knows, maybe my poetry won't blow. Yep. That was a poem. Somebody write it down. Haiku. Bless you. Anyway, so big show for such a small number of topics for such a short overall episode, but I appreciate you. Now, speaking of preparation, I have partnered with, and to be clear, this isn't new. I've partnered with them for a very long time. I just haven't really put a focus on this particular company. Go to jdrucker.com/MPS. Do you know what MPS stands for? jdrucker.com/MPS will take you to My Patriot Supply. Now, I know a lot of people, a lot of show hosts promote My Patriot Supply. Probably next to MyPillow, they're the number one out there, I would assume. Maybe Wellness, I don't know. But there's a lot of companies out there that are trying to get known by conservatives. My Patriot Supply is, again, number 1 or number 2. Maybe next to MyPillow. Maybe they're ahead of MyPillow for all I know. I don't know. But they have a lot of stuff there, and we're going to start really promoting them more heavily, more aggressively, because we need it. I want Americans to have solar generators. I want Americans to have more than 2 weeks worth of food in their pantry. I want Americans to be able to get onto a radio and hear what's happening if things go south. I want you to be able to have go bags, survival gear of all sorts. So go to jdrucker.com/MPS. We have a nice relationship with them. We've been with them since way before any of these other show hosts were working with them. We were one of the very first ones. Going on 4 years, I guess. 4 years now. So check them out, jdrucker.com/MPS. And with that said, let's get to this first story. NPR CEO bombs in Congress with reparations lie and gaslighting over obvious bias. I mean, look at her. If you were to ask artificial intelligence to draw you an image of a leftist white woman, that is exactly what AI would come up with. That's not artificial intelligence. That's actually Catherine Mayer, the CEO of NPR. She had a few moments during her congressional hearing today that are worth talking about. I'm only going to focus on 2. The first one is a bald-faced lie, and she was busted in that bald-faced lie, and she tried to make up for her lie by lying.
Do you think that white people should pay reparations?
I have never said that, sir.
Yes, you did. You said it in January of 2020. You tweeted, "Yes, the North. Yes, all of us. Yes, America. Yes, our original collective sin and unpaid debt. Yes, reparations. Yes, on this day."
I don't believe that was a reference to fiscal reparations, sir.
What kind of reparations was it a reference to?
I think it was just a reference to the idea that we all owe much to the people who came before us.
Okay. So not fiscal reparations. Now the leader of the nation's allegedly unbiased news outlet, state-funded news outlet, has now officially redefined what reparations are. If you are to say that if you're calling for reparations, you now have to specify that you're talking about fiscal reparations. So that's just stupid. And she's lying. I mean, that is a lie. She was not saying reparations now, calling for, oh, we need to be just kinder and gentler, and it's more symbolic. She was calling for financial reparations to be paid by white people to black people, period. And it's an insult. I mean, like that really makes me mad that she couldn't just say, yes, I agree with reparations, or yes, back in 2020, I did agree with reparations. This was around the time of George Floyd riots, and I got swept into it, as a lot of Americans do, but now I don't agree with reparations, or now I do agree with reparations, or whatever. Own it. You can tell a little lie and you say, well, that was me back then, I'm different now. Or you can own the truth. I agree with reparations. But don't say, well, actually, Mr. Congressman, I wasn't talking about fiscal reparations. I mean, clearly when anybody says reparations, they need to specify that they're referring to fiscal reparations, because of all the other different types of reparations that apparently nobody else on the planet knows about. Anybody who talks about reparations, they're referring to financial reparations. And it's an insult. It really is, for this woman to treat us and to treat Congress as if we're stupid. But here's the thing, and we have to remember this. People like Catherine Mayer, they truly do believe. I mean, she believes in her heart. She knows deep down that she's right, that she's the intelligent one, and that this member of Congress, or you or me, that we're just too stupid to be able to, if I just mention fiscal reparations, then these stupid people are going to believe me because I'm the CEO of NPR. Therefore, why wouldn't they believe me? She also had the nerve to tell Congressman Jim Jordan that she's unaware of any bias at NPR. Even as he's laying out evidence of bias at NPR, she keeps saying that she's unaware of any bias at NPR. Now, to be clear, this reminded me of that moment when Caitlin Collins from CNN was on with not Jon Stewart, Stephen Colbert, and he's like, CNN, you guys shoot it straight and you're unbiased, and the audience started laughing. And she's like, was that a laugh line? And he said, well, it wasn't supposed to be, but I guess it is. That was sort of what this was, except without the comedic aura. People did laugh, by the way, when she said that she didn't know about any bias. It's subtle, but just watch.
Former senior business editor for NPR.
How long do you work at NPR?
I believe he was there just over 25 years.
25 years? Award-winning journalist? Did he win any awards?
Our time did not
Peabody
overlap.
Award? That's pretty important, isn't it?
That is, absolutely.
So pretty distinguished journalist, right?
Certainly.
And he wrote a long story about what you do at NPR. Is NPR biased?
Congressman, I have never seen any instance of political bias determining editorial decisions. No.
Well, Mr. Berliner, in his story last year, wrote, in the D.C. area, editorial positions at NPR, he said he found 87 registered Democrats, 0 Republicans. Is that accurate?
We do not track the numbers or the voter registration, but I find that concerning.
Award-winning journalist who worked 25 years at NPR, Mr. Berliner, was he lying when he wrote that?
I am not presuming such. I just we don't track that information about our journalists.
87 to 0, and you're not biased?
I think that is concerning if those numbers are accurate.
It's I mean, it wasn't 44-43, it wasn't 60-27, it wasn't 70-17, it wasn't even 80-7. It was 87 Democrats, 0 Republicans, and you say NPR is not biased. How about the big stories over the last few years? According to Mr. Berliner, again, he wrote on the Trump-Russia story, he wrote, at NPR, we hitched our wagon to Trump's most visible antagonist, Representative Adam Schiff. They said they interviewed him 25 times. Is that accurate?
I was not there at the time, but those numbers sound accurate. Yes.
Those sound accurate. But then he said when the Mueller report came out and Robert Mueller said he found no evidence of collusion, he said Russiagate faded from our programming. Is that accurate?
Again, I was not there at the time. I couldn't say.
You couldn't say?
I was not at NPR at the time.
You didn't prepare for that? You knew we were going to ask you about this guy, didn't you? It's come up like 6,000 times already in the hearing.
I just couldn't say whether it faded from our coverage, sir.
How about this story? October 2020, the New York Post had the Hunter Biden laptop story, and one of those editors, I guess one of those 87 Democrat editors, said this: we don't want to waste our time on stories that are not really stories. We don't want to waste the listeners' and readers' times on stories that are just pure distractions. Was that a pure distraction story?
Our current editorial leadership believes that that was a mistake, as do I.
Yeah, the whole country knows that was a mistake. Definitely impacted the election, or I think it certainly impacted the election. How about the COVID origin story? That's a pretty big story too, right? Mr. Berliner said, we became fervent members of the team natural origin, even declaring that the lab leak was debunked by scientists. Turns out, though, the lab leak is what most people think actually caused the COVID virus.
Sorry, is there a question there?
There is. You guys were 0 for 3 on the three of the biggest stories in the last 5 years. You guys were 0 for 3, and yet you maintain that NPR is not biased?
Congressman, I do not believe we are politically biased. No, we are a nonpartisan organization.
Nonpartisan organization.
I mean, I don't know. I get upset by leftists all the time, okay? Various leftists make me mad. I get triggered. I mean, anytime I see Eric Swalwell's face, I think, my gosh, what an idiot. But this particular leftist, this non-apolitical journalist leftist, she's actually the worst because she takes taxpayer funds and she pretends like she doesn't know there's bias when, I mean, either her education was lacking, she wasn't paying attention in school, and she's unable to recognize bias all around her, despite the fact that, she also can't even tell you what reparations are. That's a whole other story. But it's worse because I think she does know. She realizes it. And again, as a journalist, she felt that the best thing for her to do as a journalist was to go to her natural instinct, which is to lie. I mean, that's what she did throughout this entire hearing. That's what NPR does throughout their entire editorial process. They are liars, and we are funding them, and we must not fund them anymore. I mean, period. This, whether through executive order and DOJ, or preferably through rescission, we need to end all funding. 100% of the funding for NPR needs to be ended immediately. Look, I run a news organization. I'm not the size of NPR. I don't have 87 editors on my staff, but we don't get taxpayer dollars. They don't need it. Okay? They don't need it. If this is what they're going to use their taxpayer dollars for, we would be better off taking it, putting it into a pile, and burning it. That would actually do less damage than how our taxpayer dollars are damaging America right now with every penny that's paid to NPR. So, officially, the JD Rucker Show is calling for NPR to be completely and totally defunded. President Trump was way too nice when asked about the Cheneys. The president appeared on Greg Kelly's show on Newsmax Tuesday, and Greg Kelly insinuated, I would say rightly so, that the Cheneys were not just attacking President Trump, that they were actually calling for the president's assassination. And when asked his thoughts, I would say that President Trump was quite nice about it.
This is something that Dick Cheney said publicly in a video. He said, in our nation's 246-year history, there has never been an individual who is a greater threat to our republic than Donald Trump. He said that in a campaign video for his daughter. His daughter has said equally horrendous things. To me, that was an invitation, quite frankly, to somebody in or out of government to do something bad to you. I think that is possibly a crime. But overall, we don't know enough about what happened. How do you feel about that? Was it possibly government involvement?
Well, we don't know, but when I hear a statement like that from a guy that got us into spending think of it, they spent billions and billions, almost $1 trillion in the Middle East, blowing up everything, killing people all over the place, engendering tremendous hatred. What a mess. And then just leave. We leave with nothing. And he got us in along with Bush. It was one of the worst decisions ever made in the history of our country. So when I hear a guy like that make that statement, and, I did something that he couldn't do. He had a certain person that worked for him that they didn't take proper care of.
Scooter Libby?
Scooter Libby. And Scooter Libby was very badly treated by him and Bush. And he took a fall for them, frankly, and they didn't take care of him. I took care of him. I didn't do it for him. I did it because Scooter Libby was treated very unfairly. But when I hear that stuff, and then the daughter goes out, she runs for office in a state that they virtually owned, and she loses by the largest margin in the history of Congress. You know that? The largest margin, like 44 points or something. And they've got to screw loose. They've got to screw loose.
Now, sure. I mean, he hit Liz Cheney. He hit Dick Cheney with things, but these were minor things. I mean, we are talking about Liz and Dick Cheney here. These are two people who are arguably amongst the most evil people to ever serve in politics in Washington, D.C. in our history. These are people that did true, legitimate damage to the nation. Of course, Liz Cheney and her J6 shenanigans are only the tip of the iceberg. We have to assume that she did far worse than that in her time in Congress and now in her time outside of Congress. And then you've got Dick Cheney, who, as vice president, was probably the most destructive vice president of our time. You'd have to go back to Lyndon B. Johnson. And maybe even you could argue that Dick Cheney and his control of the country, his control of the military-industrial complex during the failed Middle East wars, you could argue that he actually did more damage than even LBJ, who may or may not have participated or at least known about the assassination of his boss, John F. Kennedy. So, yeah, I think President Trump was rather nice about it. I think that he could have hit them both a lot harder, and if anyone has a right to hit the Cheneys harder, it would be President Trump. There's a gold rush going on right now, not just by central banks, not just by entire countries, not just by those trying to refill Fort Knox before Elon Musk and President Trump get there. No, there's a gold rush happening amongst individual Americans. It's a gold and silver rush, and it's specifically attracting people of retirement, retirement age. People are starting to realize that maybe they don't need their IRAs or 401ks or whatever stuck in the stock market. Maybe they should be looking at physical precious metals like gold and silver. Now, I am not a financial advisor, so I'm not going to give you advice. I'm just going to tell you who to talk to if you've already made up your mind and you think maybe I should consider it. Go to jdrgold.com, jdrgold.com, or call 800-200-4653. That's 800-200-GOLD. And check out what the folks over at Genesis Gold Group can do for you. They are a faith-driven precious metals company. They don't do the scams, the cheats, the tactics, such as offering free or bonus silver. It's never free, and it's not really a bonus. You're paying for it. They just tack it onto the price and then say, "Oh, look, here's free, here's bonus." No. It's they probably have a good role to play in government, at least the old government. I would imagine that Doge and Elon Musk would sniff out their scams. But if you want to deal with a direct and honest company to do a tax-free rollover or transfer of your IRA, go to jdrgold.com, jdrgold.com. You'll receive a free definitive wealth protection kit. Plus, you will be contacted by my good friends at Genesis Gold Group. President Trump announces America First automotive tariffs, and I'm here to tell you not to believe the lies. There are already lies coming out. There were lies coming out before President Trump made the announcement. And now that he has made the announcement, well, the lies are going to continue. They're going to get bigger, bolder, badder. They're going to tell you that the sky is falling. But first, let's listen to President Trump himself describe his tariffs.
And we're going to charge countries for doing business in our country and taking our jobs, taking our wealth, taking a lot of things that they've been taking over the years. They've taken so much out of our country, friend and foe, and frankly, friend has been oftentimes much worse than foe. And this is very modest. What we're going to be doing is a 25% tariff on all cars that are not made in the United States. If they're made in the United States, there's absolutely no tariff. We started off with a 2.5% base, which is what we were at, and we go to 25%. And basically, as you know, and as you've been seeing, not reporting as accurately as it should be reported because it's a massive story. Business is coming back to the United States so that they don't have to pay tariffs. And I think also because of November 5th, the election, they're very happy. AI is coming back to levels that nobody's ever seen before. It's a new, sort of a new business, I guess, when you think about it. But it's plants are going up all over the United States, and many of them have already been started. We're getting early electricity taken care of. We're getting permits very quickly for them, and we're going to make their life very happy. They're coming in with tens of billions of dollars. Individual plants will cost 10, 15, even 20 billion dollars. We're going to let them build electricity generating plants along with their plant, and they can't even believe it. And we're going to get them very quick permits, as I've done always. I did that in Louisiana with 2 LNG plants. I got them one permit in one day after waiting 14 years, and the other one in 1 week after waiting for 12 years. But this is very exciting to me. This is the automobile industry, and this will continue to spur growth like you haven't seen. Before I was elected, we were losing all of our plants. They were being built in Mexico and Canada and other places. Now those plants largely have stopped, and they're moving them to our country. In Indiana, the great state of Indiana, I love Indiana. Honda is building one of the biggest plants anywhere, and they've just started. They wouldn't have done it without this. In all cases, they wouldn't have done it without what we're doing. So we'll effectively be charging a 25% tariff. But if you build your car in the United States, there is no tariff. And what that means is a lot of foreign car companies, a lot of companies are going to be in great shape because they've already built their plant. But their plants are underutilized, so they'll be able to expand them inexpensively and quickly. But others will come into our country and build, and they're already looking for sites. They're looking for mostly sites. They don't want to take the old buildings that are empty and falling down. They want to build new, and there's tremendous action.
That's about as America first as it gets. And it's not just the auto industry itself that's going to be benefited here in the United States. It will also be other industries, as he noted, be it people building or companies building power plants, companies getting engaged and more mining done here in the United States of America, taking advantage of our resources here that we have versus having to import so much. The benefits from this will be dramatic. But let's start off. Let's just play it fair, and let's start off with what are the negatives from this. Will car prices go up? Yes, they will, especially if they're imports. If they are imports, then they are going to go up. And let's be clear, when I'm talking about imports, we used to talk in terms of buy American, domestic versus foreign. Well, the lines have been blurred, and they've been blurred for years, really decades, because you have American companies that are shipping off their jobs and their plants down to Mexico and other places. You have foreign companies that are building here in the United States. So it's like, is it really, what is foreign, what is domestic? Is it based upon the ownership, who the shareholders are, or is it based upon who's actually producing jobs and revenue and income and tax dollars here in the United States of America? So that's why I'm not going to refer to domestic versus foreign. We're just going to call it American made versus imports. So when we're talking about imports, those prices are going to go up, and they are going to go up dramatically, and they're going to be painfully high, not just to the consumer, but really to the manufacturers themselves. And they're going to have to make a decision. Do we really want to lose so much market share in the United States of America, or do we want to get on board with Trump's plan and just build? Let's just build them in the United States of America. We've already seen Audi and other companies preemptively saying, you know what, let's just go ahead and do it. Let's bite the bullet, invest in the United States of America. We're still going to sell a bunch of cars. We're still going to make a bunch of profits, and we'll be on President Trump's good side. And that seems to be a motivating factor for a lot of these companies, especially the foreign companies. What about non-imports? What about cars that are built here in America, whether it's a foreign company or a domestic company? The companies or the vehicles that are built here in the United States of America will see a temporary rise in prices. You're going to see that here in the coming months. But that's number one, based upon just standard inflation because of 4 years under Joe Biden. There's been this trend upward anyway. But beside that, and perhaps more importantly, there will be a test phase. Hey, well, if everybody else is going to have to pay a little bit more, why don't we also charge a little bit more? And they're going to see what happens. But here's what will actually end up happening. Once they see that basically the bottom doesn't drop out in the automotive industry, things don't change, and they have to fight once again for market share, they're going to do what automakers have done for decades. They're going to come out with tremendous rebates, tremendous incentives, tremendous ploys to basically take the higher MSRP but reduce it down lower, to the point that in many cases, I think Americans are going to end up paying less for a new automobile next year than they are right now. Not all of them. It won't be across the board, but there will be some that will go so far as to say, you know what, let's go for a market share play here. Let's not worry about the per vehicle. Let's give incentives to the dealerships as well as to the consumers, so that the dealerships are paying less, the consumers are paying less, the dealerships are making more and selling more. And as a result, the automakers, they might not be making as much per vehicle, but they will be making more based upon the increase in market share. And this is one of the reasons why the propaganda by legacy media is already hitting on both fronts. They're not just hitting on the prices. They're also claiming that there's going to be a reduction in total sales. And I'll get to that here in a second. But first, let's get to the positives. Okay, there are tremendous positives that are going to come from this. Obviously, bringing more companies, more industries back here to the United States, and enticing others to come to the United States for the first time. This is this is an economic boom. This is going to be huge. And again, it's not just about where the cars are being built. It's other industries as well. It is mining. It is manufacturing. It is parts development, technological development. It is, of course, the cottage industries. When they say, it's funny, they always say, oh, but the car sales are going to go down. Yeah, well, whenever car sales go down, and this is, I don't know if it's a dirty little secret, but it is a secret in the automotive industry. It doesn't matter. When sales go down, okay, repairs go up. So car dealerships, generally speaking, the new car dealerships, they have their auto body and their mechanics, their auto repair, and they have their sales. What a lot of people don't realize is that a good chunk of dealerships, I would say maybe 50% or more, rely more on repairs on their shops and their mechanic bays than they do on actual car sales. They don't make a ton of money. We're not talking like, oh, they're making 30% on the cars. No, they're making like in some cases like 1.5% on the cars, but they can make a lot more money on repairs. So when sales go down, a lot of times profits of dealerships can actually go up as a result of people taking their current vehicles and repairing them more often than just trading them in and buying new cars. It's just a little side benefit there. But there will be, of course, a tremendous boost in tax revenues as well as the revenues that are generated from the tariffs themselves. So the Treasury is going to get a boost, which can, if handled properly, and this remains to be seen, but if handled properly, this could actually help to lead to a reduction of taxes against American citizens. If this is as big as we hope it's going to be, if we're talking about in the hundreds of billions of dollars in potential boon for the Treasury over the course of the next year, then yeah, this is going to give President Trump and his administration the freedom, the leeway to be able to really truly talk about tax cuts for Americans. Of course, more jobs, that's a no-brainer. And this is the part where nobody in legacy media is ever going to talk about this. They're not going to say, oh, well, as a result of the jobs increases, the jobs that are going to be created from this. No. They're just going to be talking about, oh, this is so bad. It's the end of the automotive industry. You might as well start buying bicycles again. Again, as if we were ever buying a bunch of bicycles. But you get the idea. Now, there is one other major benefit to this, and I'll get to that in a second because that one's a little bit off topic, but it's important, and I would say arguably it's the biggest one. But let's talk about the narratives first, the lies that they're telling us. They've been telling us about how devastating automotive tariffs were going to be. They've been saying that since the beginning. I mean, even before President Trump was elected, I saw some reports and a couple of studies done that showed, automotive tariffs are going to destroy the automotive industry. They're going to cause a recession, cause stagflation, cause blah, 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 blah. It's going to be awful. We're all going to die if there's tariffs. That was the narrative before, and now, of course, it's going to go into overdrive. I saw one report that said that there will be a reduction in sales of 700,000 new vehicles sold in the United States of America as a result of these tariffs. That's a lie. That's not even close to being true. That is a manufactured total, a manufactured amount based upon faulty data and false assumptions. And it's a political study. I read through the study itself. It's pure politics, okay? I mean, they might as well said, hey, they actually probably did say this. Hey, I want you to do a study that shows that new car sales in the United States will drop as a result of President Trump's tariffs. And the people doing the study, they're like, so you want us to see what the results of the tariffs are? They're like, no. We don't care what the actual results are. I want a study that shows that there will be a dramatic drop in sales. I mean, that's what basically got commissioned. That's not going to happen, folks. There might be a slight temporary drop in new car sales, but that's been happening already, to be clear. We're already seeing the used car market explode while the new car market has been hindered, mostly because of the focus, the mandated focus on green vehicles. But there are other factors to be included in that. Now with these tariffs and with President Trump hopefully pulling back on all these green mandates for the automotive industry, we should see sales level out. I don't know if they're going to increase. We'll see. I don't know what the overall response will be. And to be clear, nobody does. This isn't, if you were an economist, you would know. No, nobody knows because this is unprecedented. We've never seen anything like this. Not in our lifetimes, not in anybody's lifetime. This is the first time the United States of America has gone this far when it comes to putting forth an America First policy for automotive. We've always been very welcoming. Okay, we really have. We've always been very welcoming of other countries, but now it's time to make the doors a little bit more narrow, make the gate a little bit more straight, and make it to where, hey, if you really want to do business here in the United States of America, best way to do that is to build and hire here in the United States of America. So that's going to be good. Now, when it comes to prices, the price lies are the funniest ones, because I saw a report. I think it was New York Times. One of the major outlets. They came out and they're like, new car prices are going to rise by as much as $10,000 on imports. But we didn't say that. No, they didn't say imports. They said on vehicles made in China. I'm messing this. This is a gag, and I'm messing up. Vehicles built. What they were saying is vehicles built in Canada or Mexico. Yes, the prices of those vehicles are going to go up dramatically. They will, and that's a result of the tariffs. That's true. They were very quiet about that last part, though. They didn't. The New York Times didn't really focus on the fact that these tariffs are going to raise prices on those cars. They were really talking about, in the automotive industry, you're going to see a dramatic increase in prices. The reality is that you're probably going to pay, extra in the short term on, say, a $40,000 new vehicle. For round numbers, we'll say a $50,000 new vehicle. You might end up paying somewhere between $500 and $1,000 more MSRP if it's an America-built vehicle. And again, this won't kick in really until next year. But that MSRP increase, again, is just a test. And that will be made up for with greater incentives than what they've done in the past, or at least what they're doing currently with today's level of prices. It's just, this is how the automotive industry works, folks. I was in it for a decade. It is truly wonderful, by the way, to be clear, from an economics perspective. It really is a wonderful case study on how capitalism can be so fluid. Okay, I'm not agreeing or disagreeing with tactics in the automotive industry. What I'm saying is that it's, from a scholarly perspective, just watching it academically, it's like, wow, that's pretty cool. That's neat. These guys are pretty smart. They know how to handle this. It actually is quite amazing. So now let's get to this last part, which is what does all this really mean? Okay. Is this really about generating tariff revenue? Is it really about trying to bully other companies, other countries even? No, this really is about preparations by President Trump and his administration for the slow, for now, the creeping drawdown of the unipolar world. The United States of America understands, in large part thanks to Joe Biden, but also in large part thanks to just sheer necessity, the United States will no longer be the sole superpower here at some point in the very near future. And I'm talking about economically. I'm not talking about militarily. It's a whole other issue. But when it comes to economically speaking, we haven't advanced as fast as other countries have. They've come up. And so our ability to make demands, it is reducing. This is why it is so important for our America First, almost, I wouldn't say isolationist, but at least from a position of power, making sure that America's dollars can be maintained as imperative for the world to operate. I'm not just talking about dollars that they hold in treasuries. I'm talking about dollars that they make through our consumers, through us. If we are going to not crash, not collapse, then we have to see the writing on the wall, which President Trump does. The writing on the wall says, hey, you know what? This whole globalist economy thing didn't work. And now we got our tentacles spread out way too thin. We're too involved. We're too engaged. We're doing too many things for too many other countries, and we're not taking care of ourselves. And as a result, we're getting taken advantage of, and American taxpayers, they're getting the shaft. Well, President Trump is trying to rein that in. Not trying to. He is in the process of reining it in, and these tariffs are a major step in that direction. We will, at some point, I don't know if it's going to be a year or a decade or a generation, but at some point in the not too distant future, the United States economy will no longer be the driving force for the world's economy. There's nothing we can do to stop that, by the way. It would take dramatic changes. For example, I don't know, maybe the ascension of artificial superintelligence controlled by the United States. We'll see if we get to that. But barring that, we have to see the writing on the wall, as I noted. And the writing on the wall says this: the unipolar financial economic world, the world of one major economy ruling the entirety of the world's economy, those days are almost over, and we have to prepare for it. We have to put our pride aside and praise God for that. To be clear, look, I don't want to be the world's economic driver. That doesn't benefit us. What benefits us is an America First mentality of taking advantage of one of our greatest strengths as a nation, and that's the fact that outside of certain items, such as rare earth minerals, which I do believe we can find, but outside of certain things, we can be self-sustaining. Not every country, most countries cannot say that. We don't need imports in order to survive. If we were to become, and I'm not saying that we should, but if we were to become a completely isolationist nation, we would be fine. Things would change. Some things would be less convenient. Perhaps some things would be less efficient. But over time, if we were to go down that road, we would be actually able to become stronger as a result, stronger internally and stronger for our own people. That is what I would like to see. So as sad as it is that we're probably not going to be the controlling economy of the world here in a certain period of time, that might sound bad, but in reality, if we're just responsible for taking care of ourselves, I think we're going to be just fine. Is cryptocurrency a safe investment to back your wealth or your retirement or your life's savings? The answer to that question is I have no idea. And I know that my sponsors probably just had a heart attack when I said that, but it's true. And here's the thing. Anybody who says that they know for sure whether cryptocurrencies are a good investment for this or that or the other, they're probably selling you something. One of the reasons that I personally like to work with Block Trust The reason that I tell people to go to jdrcrypto.com so they can also consider working with Block Trust is because they're straightforward, they're honest, but perhaps most importantly, they know what they don't know. That's why they rely on artificial intelligence-driven data to help them make decisions on your behalf. With their managed accounts, they can get you into crypto and have you trading like an expert without you actually having to become a crypto expert. They make moves. They try to get to determine, okay, is Bitcoin going to go up? Is it going to go down? Artificial intelligence tells us it's probably going to go down. Let's go ahead and pull everybody out of crypto, put them in cash for a while, and then once it hits a certain mark, then we'll put them right back in. We'll try to advance their portfolio, whether it's an IRA or 401k or, again, cash. They're extraordinarily easy to work with. Go to jdrcrypto.com to learn more. See what they say. This is a very patriotic company, a very bullish company when it comes to crypto for obvious reasons. But I want to be clear. Just like me, they were very skeptical about even getting into the industry prior to President Trump's election. Once President Trump was elected, it made sense. They worked with partners who've been in the crypto industry for years, platforms that have been used in the past by hedge funds. Now they are open to the public, and it is, again, because President Trump won. This has changed the game for cryptocurrency, and it is allowing Americans, of whether you're a crypto expert or a crypto novice or anywhere in between, this brave new world that we're experiencing in cryptocurrency can be most easily navigated by working with Block Trust. Go to jdrcrypto.com, see what they can do with your retirement, your cash, whatever. It's easy. And again, I'm not a financial advisor, so I'm not telling you, go buy crypto, go buy gold, go buy chickens. Actually, on that last one, it probably would be a good idea to go buy chickens. See, I wasn't kidding. It was going to be a short show today. Be sure to tune in tomorrow. We haven't actually, I know this is going to sound awful. We haven't picked the time yet. I know. Very, very last minute of me, but we're looking at what right now, my people, my people are looking through the various shows that come on in the morning on Rumble, on X, on YouTube, and various places, and to see when do we fit. I have no problem with going up against the biggest and the brightest out there. I don't think it makes a difference necessarily from a time perspective. Like competition is going to be competition during the day. It is what it is. But with that said, what we don't want to do is compete against those who are very like-minded. I'm pretty like-minded with people like whoever, pick somebody. But there are certain hosts where we share for example, our obsession with going against, say, certain controversial topics that maybe others in conservative media might not be necessarily willing to discuss openly on their show. That's the best way I could put it. I'm not going to go into details, but I don't want to fight against those narratives. Small shows, big shows, doesn't matter. I want to be the guy that you turn to when you want to talk about, or want somebody else to talk about, for example, the strange things happening with the pyramids in Egypt, or the strange things happening with this whole Mike Waltz thing. I conspicuously now 2 days in a row haven't talked about it. We are still gathering data. I want to know who did it. And perhaps more importantly, I want to know why it was done. Because what we're being told, the official story, even from those within the Trump administration, the official story doesn't seem to add up. How does this guy get into this chat group unless it was absolutely positively intentional? The whole, some staffer made a mistake. How is that possible? I'm very familiar with Signal. I use Signal every day. And so I know how it works. I know that it's not possible for it to happen exactly the way they're saying it happened. I just can't buy that, because it would take, let's say it was a staffer. And let's say the staffer was setting up the room. And let's say that staffer happens to, you don't have to have a connection in Signal for them to necessarily be on your Signal list. They just have to be in your phone, right? So just if somebody has a Signal account and their phone number is attached, well, obviously it would be if it's Signal. So people can if their contact is in your phone, you join Signal, they're on Signal, then yeah, they are a Signal contact. So my question is, whoever it was, why do they have this guy as a contact. Initially, I think a lot of people were saying, "Oh, why does Mike Waltz have I forgot his name, the Atlantic guy? Why is he on there?" And there's questions about Mike Waltz's loyalty or whatever. But then it came out that it was a staffer, and it's like, okay, so who's the staffer? Is this a spy? Is somebody infiltrating? Why did this happen? Could it have been intentional? Could it have been planted? Could somebody have been hacked? There's a lot of questions that continue to remain unanswered. And I don't want to, I feel awful even talking about it here, talking about not talking about it. Because, again, this is one of those stories where you got to get this one right. There's certain times when we can speculate all day. But on, like the aforementioned pyramid, it's not like we're going to be able, well, let me just call the guys that built it and see what they say. We got to speculate. But in this scenario, we shouldn't have to speculate, not for very long. And if the information just dries up and we're not able to get to the bottom of it, then we can speculate. But until then, I want to know the truth. I want to know the facts. And I think that there are people that are discovering the facts. I want to see if they say anything. And if they don't, then I'll speculate. So there's a good chance I might talk about this tomorrow or the day after or whenever. I'm just not going to talk about it today. I will ask you to subscribe to this channel, though, so that when I do talk about it, you'll know exactly when I'm talking about it, and push the bell button. I don't remember. Notifications. There we go. The notifications bell on certain channels. I'm trying to go through my checklist of appropriate things to say. Thumbs up and like. You get the idea. You get the idea. You're the smartest audience in the world. I have been told this on good authority. Lord willing, I will be back very soon with another episode. But in the meantime, you all stay strong, stay safe, and God bless.